Hello, Omies. Welcome back in to another episode of the Out of Our Minds podcast. Before we dive into this beautiful solo episode with me, I wanted to give you a reminder that we have officially launched the Omies Oasis, baby.
Woo woo!
And we actually have our first workshop. That's a part of the membership. When you join the Oasis, there's monthly workshops with coaches, entrepreneurs, creatives, healers, experts, the whole shebang. And we have our first workshop it's tonight. It would be tonight when this 28th comes out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. So we have our first workshop tonight with healer Kat, who is going to bring us into a state of hypnosis, and we are going to heal some ancestral trauma. Kat is a family constellation therapist facilitator who guides people one-on-one in sessions to heal ancestral trauma using the modality of FCT, family constellation therapy. I always say that reversed. So if you guys are interested in hopping in, and it is before, what time is it at? 5:30 PST, I think.
Yes, on February 28th.
Right. So February 28th, Wednesday, that is. If you're listening to this before and you want to jump in, the membership is $25 a month. So you literally get workshops for $25, and then on top of that, you're in a community of people where you have access to a group of beautiful Omis, beautiful souls, where you can converse and chat in many different types of conversations. It's a Slack channel that has conversations with manifestation, channeling, navigating a low, moral support, the whole thing. Did you have any thoughts that you wanted to add?
The energy in there is phenomenal, and all the Omis are incredible people, so it's just amazing. That's all I gotta say. And we share lots more stuff there with direct voice notes, and you can ask us stuff and we'll answer right in the Slack. So it's epic. You are gonna love it.
For sure. We'll see you in the Oasis. Without further ado, now let's get into the episode.
What's up, guys? I'm Nikki.
I'm Bella.
And this is the Out of Our Minds podcast,
a playground for mystics and self-explorers to journey through the vast realms of the universe, cultural landscapes, and spiritual expansion.
Join us weekly as we dive into thought-provoking discussions that unveil the mysteries of existence and nurture the growth of our consciousness.
Welcome into the Out of Our Minds podcast. Today is going to be a beautiful solo episode that my goal is will motivate the F out of you to really level up in regards to your routines, your practices, your fitness journey. We're going to be talking about all things like consistency, discipline, and routines. And the reason why, there's two reasons why I want to talk about this today. The first being, I feel like there is this sentiment that's like floating around the collective right now, an overarching feeling that so many of us are feeling, that now is the time to really like get shit right. Now is the time to get in alignment. People are feeling this like pull to really feel in alignment with their highest timeline and in alignment with their highest frequency and their energy. And with that comes the calling to really get shit right with your routines and your habits and your practices and your workout routines. And I don't want this to like overwhelm you, because the sentiment and the feeling that I get around this is excitement and empowerment and like, whoa, like I'm so ready to do this. I'm really excited to take on this new adventure. It's not like what it used to feel like in the past, which was, like I have to do all this shit and I have to go to the gym and work out. It's like there's this overarching feeling of excitement. I don't know if you guys are agreeing with me, but this is what I have definitely been feeling. And you're here at the perfect time. You have landed in this episode because maybe you have been feeling this way. So with this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about my own. Oh, the other reason why I want to talk about this now, I forgot to say this, was because ever since moving to Arizona, which was in November, I have been on a journey of finding my flow with my routines and my practices. Because of how little distraction I have here, I am like so honed in on the things that make me feel good. And with all that time and space and peace, I've been able to really kind of silo this journey of experimenting with my routines and habits and really figuring out what works for me. And I feel like I have aced it. Like over the past, I would say 4 weeks, I have been really acing what I've been doing in a consistent way, and it feels so freaking good. So I just want to share a little bit of my own personal journey of habits and routines and how I actually found that flow and have snapped into a place of like discipline and consistency, because it really hasn't felt that difficult. So those are the two reasons that I want to talk about this today, which brings me to my first point that I want to make. And it's kind of like a theory that I have as to why it is so many people are feeling that calling to really level up and step up their game with attuning their energy and taking care of their physical vessel and their well-being and their energetic being and their spiritual being. I believe that it has to do with this big shift in consciousness that's occurring right now amongst the collective that we talk about all the time throughout so many episodes of this podcast. We've spoken about this. And essentially, just a little recap, what's happening is that there is a rise in energetic frequency that is occurring amongst the collective. And I'm actually in a 3-month program right now where I am being taught by 2 incredible teachers, Sarah Zula and Tim Tactics, on how to shift into 4D consciousness with grace and ease, because it's inevitably happening amongst all of us, and that can happen in a difficult way, or you can approach this journey of raising your consciousness in a way where you are self-aware and you're learning the lessons and you're aware of what it is you need to do to attune your energy. And if you're listening to this episode and you're tuned into this world, then you're already on that path. So definitely be super proud of yourself for leaning into that journey of alignment and self-awareness. So in this course, they talk about, I learned through Tim's teachings that he was sharing that shifts in consciousness happen in cycles, the same way that we experience seasons, the same way that there are cycles of the tides in the ocean or the moon. That also happens with our consciousness. So right now, where we're at in the specific point of our cycle is a rise. We are at the elevation in consciousness, the rise in frequency. And with that, essentially what that means is people are becoming more conscious. We are becoming more self-aware. And I explained this in another episode where you can imagine a robot like looking at its hands and being like, wait, I can actually control my programs and the way that I function. And you start to become conscious of like turning inwards and analyzing the way that your mind works, as opposed to just being on autopilot and being like, this is just the way I am. This is just the way reality is. And now we're at a point where, because awareness is heightening, we are becoming more aware of many things. You probably hear this saying a lot, that the veil is thinning. And this kind of goes hand in hand with us becoming more self-aware and more essentially sensitive and taking in more data and taking in more information. With the rise in awareness, you also are broadening the spectrum of data that you are taking in. So I like to use the example of like, we used to watch the news and we would be like, oh, this is just the news. I'm going to watch the news and take everything in as truth. And now when you're watching the news, what I mean by the veil thinning is like you're looking at these newscasters and you can just feel the inauthenticity that is present and like the restriction in their body and just like the fakeness, and it feels super icky in your body. You can pick up on what is not actually real and what is simply an illusion. So with this, the reason why I'm talking about this is because with the veil thinning, we are becoming very aware of those specific habits and behaviors that are just simply no longer serving us. And if you have been receiving that intuitive hit to maybe give up something that isn't serving you anymore, or maybe to align yourself with certain habits and behaviors, that means that you are tapped into this collective energy. You are self-aware, you're on the journey, you're with us. So congratulate yourself, you're here, you have arrived, and you are exactly where you are meant to be right now. And the next thing I want to talk about is that you don't need to look back at the past and be like, oh, like, why didn't I do all this at this point and do this then? And why did I act like that? It's because now you're ready to do this. Now you are ready to really align yourself. You acted in a way that was serving you at that time, and you should really give yourself grace and lean into forgiveness and self-love. And now you're at a point where you are just being called to really take things to another level. And you can see that through the angle of excitement. Like, that is so fucking exciting to be like, damn, I am ready. I'm listening to this episode. It's resonating in my body because I am freaking ready to go in on this. And to see that as a really exciting and joyful and empowering part of your path. So the first thing I want to do is kind of bring us into my own personal routines and share with you guys what I have been doing over the past few weeks. And I've been feeling really freaking good about my routines and practices because I feel like I have finally given myself the space to experiment with what feels good for me. So my first point I want to make before I go into my personal routines and practices is that this is not for you to listen to and then you're going to just go copy and paste everything I'm doing, expecting that to work for you the same way it works for me. We are all different, and I am not sharing my routine in order for you to then go duplicate it. I am not saying this is the end all be all. This is just what works for me. But what I do invite you to do is feel into your body if there is something that excites you or interests you that I do, and you can then go test it out and collect your own data. So I'll start by saying that when we first moved to Arizona, Peter and I had this like mindset of like, okay, we're both gonna like be on a health journey together. And I was like really in on kind of doing it together and doing the same thing. And Peter is very into lifting heavy weights. He eats a lot of protein and a lot of like cheeses and meats. And he's very much into that kind of eating where it's very like whole food, but heavy on like raw dairy and really clean meats. He like orders meats from this farm that is grass-fed, grass-finished, and super clean meats. I eat them too, but I kind of jumped on that bandwagon when we moved to Arizona, and I started to eat very high protein, high dairy diet, and I did not react well to it. Like, I got super inflamed. I actually gained a bunch of weight very fast, which is what Peter's wanting to do because he's like lifting all these heavy weights and wants to bulk up, but that is just not what I want to do. And it made me realize that you really have to think for yourself. Like, you really have to hone in on what works for your body. Just because you live with someone or you're married to someone or you have a roommate does not mean you need to eat the exact same way as that person. We're all very different, especially if you are dating or married to someone that is the opposite sex and you guys have very different bodies that function in very different ways. And I feel like there was this whole narrative out there online of like, eat raw cheese and eat clean meats and eat the way that the cavemen used to eat. And that's great. Like, that works for some people. But I realized that it actually really does not work with me and it makes me super inflamed. So I started to actually hone in on the way of eating that makes me feel good. The wisdom that I gained from that experience was like, you got to listen to yourself. You got to listen to your own body. You got to do what really feels right for you. And if something just like isn't making you feel good, then you got to listen to that. So here's my routine. Peter and I wake up at around 6:30 every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And we go to the gym. We go to the gym together. It's this like really nice thing that we do as a couple, and I really freaking enjoy it. When I first moved to Arizona, I was doing heavy lifting. Like, just like, okay, I'm going to be like a heavy lifter. I'm going to like build a booty. I'm going to do heavy weights. And I would get there. I would do 2 miles on the treadmill, run, because I really, really like that. It makes me feel super energized, and I just feel so in my body and present. And I put on a good playlist and listen to John Summit, and it's just like a really fun experience for me. And then I would do heavy lifting. And I started to realize that I didn't actually enjoy the heavy lifting, and it was starting to feel more like a task than something that I was thoroughly enjoying. So I thought to myself, I like really do enjoy going to the gym, but I think I want to find a different approach to working out. So Peter and I don't go to the gym on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I figured, let me look up if there's any like reformer classes in Arizona, and I can add that into the schedule. And then maybe that will help me hone in on a way of working out at the gym that feels better to me. Because I know I really, really like Pilates, at home Pilates. I've been doing mat Pilates with Melissa Wood for a very long time. And I have always felt drawn to the reformer. So I signed up for this really cute Pilates studio that's down the street from my house. And I now go every Wednesday and Friday. I go to the 6 a.m. class. and it is so much freaking fun. It's like all the females, all the girly pops of like Arizona where I live, and it's honestly like older women that go, and I'm definitely like one of the younger ones in the class, but it's such a beautiful like community feeling of being surrounded by just like females that are like tapping into their body. The teachers are amazing, they play good music, they're really great instructors, and I just have a really freaking good time there. And I've realized that by going to Reformer Pilates, I have really honed in on being present with my body when I am moving it, to a point where I feel like I don't need to lift heavy weights in order to actually get an outcome or to reach a goal or to feel good when I'm doing a workout. So I realized that the more present and more honed in I am on my muscles as I'm moving something really slow and controlled, the greater result I yield. And not to say that it's about strictly the results, but I started to feel really freaking good with slow, controlled, low weight movements on the Reformer, that I then translated that over into the way that I work out at the gym. So now I go to the gym, I'll either walk on the treadmill for a little bit, or I'll do some running depending on how I feel that day. And then I'll use the gym like a Pilates playground. Like I'll literally pick up 3-pound weights and I'll do little, if I'm doing an arm day, I'll do like little tiny movements holding the 3-pound weights, very similar to the way that Melissa Wood does her workouts. And then I'll use some machines in a way that mimics the Reformer. Like I'll use the cables to do like rows or like some sort of like slow controlled resistance movement with lifting my arms. I actually bought one of those little ankle straps that you put around your ankle, and then you can do cable kickbacks. So I'll put it on the lowest weight possible and I'll literally stand there so slow and so controlled, and I'll kick back my leg either from like a side kickback or a back kickback. And yeah, it's just such an enjoyable way to work out that I have fallen in love with. And I can't believe I haven't worked out this way sooner, because it's just so enjoyable. You get so present. And again, this is my own personal experience. This is probably how people feel when they're doing heavy weightlifting, but I just don't resonate with it. You get so present in your body to a point where you feel so strong, like in that moment, you like are lifting up that weight so slow and so controlled, and you're literally present on that muscle and on that energy, and you're feeling the aliveness that is in your vessel. And you start to get so almost like addicted to that feeling, to the point where my alarm goes off at 5:30 on Wednesday and Friday to go to Pilates, and I am jumping out of bed with excitement, just so excited to jump into that community, to be in that present moment. Because what happens is, if you are doing something that allows you to get present, that you really enjoy, every single worry, every single thought just kind of melts away, and you get sucked into this vortex of presence with your body, and it feels so freaking good. And I want to just add here before I go on with my routine that something I've noticed is that ever since I started taking that approach to working out at the gym and doing the Reformer classes, I feel so in tune with my body. And I'm realizing that when you're leaning into some sort of movement or fitness where you are connecting and spending time in the body, you get really connected to it on a different level, to the point where you are more in tune with your body's needs. So what I've realized by doing Pilates and doing these low intensity movements at the gym, that I have become very in tune with my hunger cues, and I'm no longer overeating. What I used to eat when I was forcing myself to do the heavy weightlifting and eating the dairy and like the freaking protein heavy breakfasts, I felt like I was literally forcing myself to eat in a way that I was overeating, and I was not in tune with my own hunger cues. And now that I'm in tune with my own hunger cues, I'm noticing that I'm actually just naturally eating healthier and eating a lot less than what I was eating when I was doing that like high protein diet. And you may be listening to this and you're like, I actually really resonate with the high protein diet. That is amazing. All the power to you. Like, continue to do the things that make you feel good. All I'm sharing is that when I got in touch with my own personal needs, I personally realized that my body works best with a more plant-focused diet, and I still eat meat. I'll eat dairy here and there. I really have reduced my gluten intake as well. But I'm starting to feel really, really good. And I'm realizing there was a reason why I felt so good when I was plant-based. And it really does come down to me eating more whole plant foods with a pinch of meat and dairy here and there. But that is just what works for me. It makes me feel freaking good. And I'm just realizing that getting in tune with my body, I'm way more in touch with my hunger cues. And I feel like I used to, when I would have a plate in front of me, feel like I had to finish the whole thing. And now I'll eat until I get that cue. It's like a little message that goes off, you're full. And instead of ignoring that, I listen to it on the first time. And it feels amazing. You realize that after you're done eating, you're actually not meant to feel sluggish. You're actually meant to feel energized and fueled. And if you're eating the right things, you will feel that way. If you're listening to your hunger cues, you will feel that way. So the next part of my routine is that I'll get home at around 7:38. And this is when I usually will walk Nala. And I'll take her on like a 1 mile, 2 mile walk, just because this dog, she likes to walk, she likes to explore, she likes to smell, she likes to dig. And I have this thing where I feel super guilty when I'm working and she's just kind of sitting in the house. So I always like to bring her on like really long walks in the morning. So I'll take her on a walk. I'll usually listen to a podcast episode that inspires me, educates me, something that uplifts me. I love listening to Know Thyself, the Human Design podcast. I love listening to Giggly Squad as like entertainment if I'm looking to just like kind of have like a more entertaining walk where I'm not learning something. I don't know if you guys are gigglers out there. If you are, you need to DM me and let me know. But after I go on my walk, I'll come home and I will make Peter and I breakfast. I'll make him his like freaking 4 eggs with raw cheese, and sometimes he'll eat like freaking chicken for breakfast and sometimes bacon. It's just like a very heavy, high protein breakfast. On top of that, sometimes he'll eat like yogurt and fruit. And I just realized that I feel really good when I eat more of like a fruit focused breakfast. I'll still eat eggs here and there, but I went from eating them every single day to now I'm putting more of a focus on like a plant focused breakfast. And I really love to make smoothies. So in my smoothie, I'll put vanilla protein powder. I use plant-based vanilla protein powder. I think the brand is called Truvani. It's super clean ingredients. I buy the chocolate and the vanilla one and I really, really like it. I'll usually do vanilla protein powder with berries like raspberries, blueberries, strawberries. I buy like the frozen organic fruit from Whole Foods. I'll add some spirulina, some almond butter, some almond milk, and then I'll blend that up. It usually looks like shit brown. I'll usually like bring it in the shower with me. That's just like something I love to do. I'll like take my smoothie, I'll put it in the shower, I'll drink it as I'm showering. And after the shower is when I do my gua sha and my skincare. Something that I've added into this process has been face yoga, which I am freaking loving. I have been doing face yoga for the past week. I use this app called Face Yogi. I don't know. I'll post the link in the show notes. I forget what it's called. But essentially you click into the app. I think it's like $10 for a few months, or I can't remember the price. You have to pay for it. But essentially, you go into the app and it has this whole library of different face yoga classes. So each day I just do 10 minutes and I'll press play and it goes step by step with which like pose or move you're supposed to do. Essentially, it's stretching the muscles in your face to like chisel and define and to reduce fine lines and wrinkles. Because if you think about the way that we like stretch our muscles in our body and work out the muscles in our body, our face also has a bunch of muscles in it. So if you can like work on the muscles in the face and work them out and stretch them, you actually can like plump the face in a natural way. I don't know. It's just like a fun little experiment that I'm doing on myself and I'm actually really enjoying it. And I'm already seeing some results in just 5 days. So I'm excited to be consistent with it. And then after that, I do my gua sha. The app also has a bunch of gua sha classes on it as well if you're wanting to do that. But I just do it on my own. I'll do my normal gua sha routine. I just started back up with this a month ago. I actually stopped doing it for a little bit and it's crazy. Like you see the results so fast from doing this. If you're consistent with it for like 2 weeks, It's freaking magic. Also, while I'm gua shaing, I like to play like goddess affirmations and really affirmative music on Spotify. I have a playlist called Rewire Subconscious, and it's just all these songs that have positive affirmations in them. There's a lot of music and artists out there that make songs specifically for rewiring your brain, and they're pretty catchy. They're like regular pop songs, except all the lyrics are positive and they're about how your success is inevitable and all these like goddess affirmations, and I freaking love it. I also like to add in the dry brush sometimes. I have this dry brush that I rub on my body to increase blood flow. It flushes out toxins from your body, which it feels really nice when you're doing it. And then after that, I'll just do my skincare routine. I'll wash my face, I'll do a toner, and then I'll do some serum, some vitamin C, and then some moisturizer. I feel like that's just like the normal lineup of skincare. And then after that, I'll get dressed, blow dry my hair, I'll put some makeup on, and then I will go in the kitchen. I will make my cacao. I use the brand Aura. It is the most amazing cacao you will ever fucking drink. Bella got me hooked on this. I don't drink coffee. I'll have a coffee like probably like once a month if I'm like feeling spicy. It just makes me feel anxious. So I'll either make a matcha or a cacao. And I really haven't been drinking that much matcha lately because I am loving this cacao. They make all different kinds. They have ones that have different mixes of like spices in them. They have ones that have mushroom like reishi, lion's mane, and other mushrooms in them. So you'll find on Aura's website, I'll put the link in the show notes, but you can see that they have all these different cacaos that are for different needs. So there's one on like creativity, meditation, energizing. The mushroom one is like really good for like focus and creativity. There's one for like getting shit done and taking action. It doesn't say getting shit done, but it says like action taking. So I'll make cacao with my Malk almond milk, and it is just so freaking good. I'll put it in my like pink little Yeti cup. And then I will come over to my altar with my cacao. And this is when I do my spiritual practices. This is when I do my breath work, my meditation, and then my journaling. So for my breath work, I use the OOOM app. I'll go into the OOOM app. I really love the breath work that is called Dare to Expand. It's a 15-minute breath work with intervals of the 3-part breath where you do breath retentions at the end. And it's incredible. It makes me feel so alive and energized and present and tapped in. And I find that breath work is an incredible way to practice being with discomfort and to expand the amount of discomfort that you can hold and be present with. And I just love it. It's an amazing practice. I've gotten really addicted to it. And if you haven't tried the OOOM app, I highly, highly recommend. They have a bunch of breath work, meditation, yoga, movement classes. It's like very chic and bougie looking. It's an LA based brand. They actually started in San Francisco, but they had a studio next to my house in LA, and I used to go, and it's like this beautiful studio with like beautiful sound baths and breath work classes. So I'll do a breath work through the OOOM app, and then I'll do 15-minute silent meditation. And I use this silent meditation as an opportunity to really connect to my guides. So when I first start the silent meditation, I'll practice just focusing on my breath, like in and out, until my mind just starts to slow down. And once you're in that slower brainwave state, you can start to access channeled wisdom. You can start to ask your higher self questions. You can start to access parts of your subconscious mind. So whatever your intention is, I use my silent meditation practice as a way to channel advice, channel creative ideas, and it's a really beautiful practice that I have. Sometimes when I notice that I'm feeling more anxious or just not present, I'll just use my silent meditation practice as a practice of being present, like noticing when the thoughts are arising, bringing my attention back to the breath. Noticing when my thoughts are arising, bringing my attention back to the breath. And I'll just do that for 15 minutes until I like kind of fall into a trance state, and it's super relaxing and peaceful. If you feel a little bit repulsed from silent meditation, take it in simple steps. Do 4 minutes here and there and see how it feels, and then work your way up to doing 10 minutes and then 15 minutes and then 20 minutes. It's a really, really beautiful practice where you start to connect directly to higher wisdom and higher intelligence. I also forgot to add that throughout these routines, I drink a lot of water. I've been drinking a lot of water. Peter and I order Mountain Valley like 6-gallon jugs to our house, these glass jars that we have in a water dispenser in our kitchen. And I drink a lot of water. I wake up and I'll drink 32 ounces at the gym. Then I'll come home and drink another 32 ounces. Yeah, this is all like very new to me to be consistent with all these things. But I'm telling you, like once you find the things that you like, it just feels really good to keep doing them. And if you don't have distractions and you're able to really be consistent, it's like, why would you stop? It makes you feel good. You feel good in the present, and the long-term gains are just like incredible. So after I do my breath work and my meditation, I'll do a quick little journaling in my favorite journal, which is the Intelligent Change journal called Notes on Mindfulness. And it has really simple prompts of like, how are you feeling? What are you noticing today? What are you grateful for? Did you complete your morning routine and how did it feel? I forget what the other prompts. It's like very simple and to the point, and then it leaves room for you to free write if you're wanting to free write, which I freaking love because I always get the best downloads after my meditation. So I'll usually go in and write my downloads in the free writing section. And then after I journal, I will be done. Like those are all my routines. While it may seem long, I really freaking enjoy doing all of this to the point where I'm excited to do it. And now I just want to touch on like a few key pointers of like what helped me get to this point of being able to be consistent so that you can take away some wisdom, some insights that I have gained on my own personal journey. So the first thing I want to say is what I've been saying throughout this entire freaking episode is you need to test out what works for you. Be patient with the journey. If you want to test something out and it doesn't work, don't feel shame letting it go. Like me letting go of the heavy weightlifting because it wasn't really resonating with me. That was the second time I had tested out heavy weightlifting, and I don't know why I didn't get the hint from the first time when I walked away from it, but I think now I'm really understanding that you need to become your own authority of your own life and know what freaking lights you up, what works for you, what makes you feel your best, because that is what you are going to be able to be consistent with. If you're forcing yourself to work out in a way that doesn't feel right for you, you're not going to be consistent with it. It's going to feel like freaking trash and you're going to give up in like a month, 2 months, and it's going to go down the drain. So find something that really freaking works for you. The second point that I want to make is that sometimes there's going to be resistance to do the thing. Sometimes you wake up and maybe you're just in a mood and you're feeling some type of way and there's resistance that comes up. It is okay to alter and change your routines if you're feeling off, if you're feeling low energy, if you're feeling sick. Obviously, you need to cater to yourself in the way that feels best for you in that moment. But I do want to say that it does take discernment in knowing when it is you are meant to face that resistance of showing up to the meditation or going to the gym, and what it is you're meant to lean into maybe a softer form of self-care that day. Not that the other ones are like hard and hardcore, but you know what I mean, like taking it down a notch and really caring and catering to yourself in the way that you need in that moment. So know that there's going to be resistance that arises, especially when you first start. But once you get into that flow and that rhythm and you practice being present with the processes, it's really freaking enjoyable. Now, another thing that I want to share that has really helped me be consistent with all my habits is I have downloaded this app. I'm pretty sure it's literally called Habit, and you can list out all the habits and routines that you want to practice getting consistent with, and you can make them a certain color. You can make them into different metrics. Like if you want to drink a certain amount of water, you can put it in ounces. If you want to put going to the gym 3 days a week, you can put it in like a number format. If you want to get a certain amount of steps, you can link it to your health app. It links to my meditation app. It knows how many minutes I meditate. And while you guys are hearing me say this, you may be like, this girl's fucking crazy for doing all this stuff. I'm someone that if I don't have structure, you can say sayonara to all of the practices and the things that make me feel good. I fall very quickly into a way of being that doesn't actually benefit me. So as someone that is aware of that, I know I need more of a masculine structure to hold the feminine so that it can flow within the structures. Like me having in my head a routine and a list of what I do every morning helps me so much be able to flow in my meditation, to be able to flow in my workout, to be able to flow as I'm doing the breath work. I let loose and know that I'm being held by a structure that is there for me every single day, and it feels really good. This is also for you to lean into a a check-in with how much structure you actually need. If you don't want to download an app where you're checking off what habits you're doing every day, then don't do that. If it feels like it doesn't resonate with you and it's too fucking neurotic and chaotic, then don't do that. But for me, I really, really benefit off of having that structure in place. So that I just wanted to add there as well. Now, the last point I want to make about habits and routines is that it gets really freaking easy to do the things that make you feel good when you're coming from the energy of love and empowerment and appreciation for your physical vessel. You are gifted this beautiful physical body that wants to work with you. It wants to go and flow with you. And when you work together with it, it is going to benefit you in ways that you could not even imagine. Your body's just waiting to be a teammate with you. So when you tune in and listen, hey, which type of movement actually makes you feel good? Which type of eating actually makes you feel good? When you get on the same team as your body, you feel in flow to the point where you don't really even think about all of these things because they become your new way of being. They become your new autopilot. Now, I do want to add another point here that habit stacking is such an important part of this process. Essentially, what that means is that you stack your habits on top of each other to the point where once you're done with one, you feel like you're on autopilot with jumping into the next because of how consistent you have been with the flow of that process. So, for example, me getting home from the gym, I know automatically I'm going to walk my dog. Me getting home from walking my dog, I know automatically I'm going to cook breakfast. And it's just this automation that happens when you are in flow with the process of your habits. Like one thing leads to a next. Another thing that you can do is, in order to habit stack, you can place different things next to different parts of like your house, for example. So if you want to do a gua sha after you shower and you know you brush your teeth after you shower, you can put your gua sha next to your toothbrush. This is just an example of ways that you can assist in the habit stacking. But I have found that to be a very, very powerful practice. It's something that I learned through Atomic Habits by James Clear, I'm pretty sure his name is. He talks a lot about habit stacking, and it definitely has helped me. I feel like it's the only way to actually have consistent routines is to stack your habits on top of each other to a point where the whole flow becomes this automated process. So yeah, there we have it. That was a very intuitive, flowy episode, but I just wanted to essentially share the journey that I have been on and share some insights and some findings that I have been able to pick up along the way. And I'll leave us on one note, and that is when you truly start to love and care for yourself, like you are this beautiful vessel. And if you're a female, you are a vessel that is literally a physical manifestation of the connection that exists from us in the 3D to the divine, the spiritual realms. You have this beautiful freaking vessel. You're a goddess or a god. You deserve to be taken care of. You deserve to care for your vessel in a way that makes you feel so freaking incredible. Tune in to what makes you feel electric and alive. And I'm not saying this in a way that you restrict every single form of fun or pleasure in your life, but to really hone in on when you want to tap into that pleasure and when you want to tap out, and to do it from an empowered place and a conscious place. You never want to be acting just like unconsciously out of certain programs. You want to be able to consciously choose the way that you show up in this world so that you can show up as your highest. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really hope that this motivated you. Drop some comments below if you're listening on Spotify. Engage with the questions and the prompts that we have. If you want, send me a DM. Let me know how this resonated with you. We really, really appreciate you guys listening. We love you guys so much. Again, give us that subscribe button, that follow, any sort of engagement that you can send over our way really does benefit the growth of this podcast, and it's going to come back to you in a circular motion. It's a positive feedback loop. You give to us, we give to you, and then we can expand further. We love you guys so much. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.